Hey watch aficionados, I hope you're all very well. So July the 2nd, time to get a video out, time to express the gathered thoughts, what's been happening recently in the watch world. As a kind of side update, I guess, in the watch world, there've been some Tudor things happening, Tudor bringing out some funny old looking GMT. There's been some volume about some YouTube channel people disappearing, and that's about it really. But listen, you know guys, back to my watch journey, what's been happening as a follow-up in terms of some of my recent videos where I've been discussing potential acquisitions, ideas, theories, whatever the brain is thinking that day, right? I mean, that's what it's about. So guys, I have made an addition, an acquisition, a purchase of a watch. Sorry, I just kicked the camera. And I have gone for a 1240 60M. No, it's not an M. I used to have an M. I used to have a 140 60M. So I've gone for a 1240 60 Submariner. The new 41mm, or whatever you want to call it, 40.6mm. You know, this is a beautiful watch. So, you know, I'm not going to spend the video kind of discussing this watch's internals and all that. I think we all know what it is. But before I go into the Submariner no date, I need to talk about obviously the Bluesy. I was really close to buying a Bluesy. I posted it on my Instagram. I think a lot of people were sure that I was going to get a Bluesy. I was quite sure I was going to get a Bluesy. But what happened was I decided to retire for at least the next year. I've decided to retire the Sea Dweller pre-ceramic, my V series. I sent that home abroad with a family member who visited, and I kind of left myself a little bit exposed in terms of, you know, black sports model watches here. But I think, you know, I initially did the whole, you know, Sea Dweller sending abroad because I needed a bit of time away from it. I'd been wearing it so much. I've been wearing it pretty much non-stop for 3 years. I needed some time away from it, and it's a beautiful watch and it's such pristine condition and it's such a collectible. I thought, you know, I'm gonna just send this abroad, maybe get a Bluesy. And the thing is, what I would have left myself with is a Bluesy and a Panerai. And I've worn the suit a few times recently, and the Panerai is so not a suit watch. You know, it's a shirt watch, but a suit watch, it is not. Cuffs on a Panerai, not happening. It's yeah, it's not happening. So yeah, I mean, listen, I was gonna go for a Bluesy, and I was thinking, you know, Bluesy and Panerai will be fine. But I honestly, and this is me, this is my opinion, this is how I feel, I cannot take a Bluesy to serious meetings. I cannot do it. A lot of people do. I've seen it. Doesn't bother me. It's just something about me likes to be a little bit more Batman than kind of, I don't know, something that's not Batman, opposite, really loud. And I guess I've always had that type of personality. The funny thing about the Bluesy is that this is, I think, the second or third time that I have not purchased a Bluesy in the final run up to purchasing it. This is the second, I think second maybe time that I've got all ready to get a Bluesy. I've located one. I'm ready to, you know, pounce on it, acquire it. And I just didn't complete the transaction. And why is that? I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna sit here and dwell on it, but fact is fact. This is the second or third time now that I've ramped myself up to get the Bluesy, and I didn't go ahead with the purchase. Maybe, you know, I think it's a beautiful watch, the Bluesy. I love the dial. But there's something I like and there's something I don't like about two-tone watches. I accept two-tone watches a little bit more, let's say on a Datejust, than I do on a Submariner. I even accept it a little bit more on a Daytona than I do on a Submariner. And that's not to say it doesn't look nice, it looks gorgeous. But I just think that for me, the Bluesy would have been a watch that I don't wear often. It would have been, you know, here and there, restaurants, you know, some bars and, you know, whatever. I just, you know, maybe I'm just not an exciting person. Maybe I'm just a bit boring. But anyway, so that was the Bluesy. Like I say, the second time I failed to, you know, take it down. I had it in my crosshairs. I was about to gonna have it and just didn't go ahead with it. So what are we gonna discuss today? Am I just gonna sit here and discuss the Submariner no date, the 1240-60? I mean, what's changed? I've had 1140-60s. I've had about 3 of them, and I thought they were gorgeous watches. Well, it is a gorgeous watch, the 1140-60. I sold it back then. I had that's when I had it with me, the Sea-Dweller SD50. I had the pre-ceramic SD. I had I think a Submariner date, black one. I had a Hulk. I mean, the Submariner no date was really surplus to requirements, so I let it go. But it's probably the watch that I've always looked back on in my camera roll and gone, damn, that was a good looking watch with a suit or places or versatility, enough water resistance, enough elegance, enough of everything for it to be your one watch. Speaking of one watch, I will at some point, I've decided I'm going to do a one watch video. What can we do? Can we have one watch? You know, what are the ins and outs, pros and cons? What are the thought processes behind one watch? I will do that in the next few weeks. But anyway, so back to the 1240-60. So I'm going to just draw a comparison here, 1240-60 with the 1140-60 based on my experience. I haven't got an 1140-60 to hand. And it's pointless me just dangling them in front of you and talking about them. I just think that's such a limited review. And on that point as well, when I was looking to buy a 1240-60, I'd never really actually tried one on. I just knew that it's probably a watch that I would really like. I saw online the pictures of it. I knew that they sorted the lugs out, so lug gate was sorted out. Arguably, lug gate was sorted out, and then people were saying, well, there's now a clasp gate and there's a big clasp issue. It is a bigger clasp, but you know, if you've got big enough arms or wrists, or adequate enough, shall I say, it won't really bother you that much. But it is bigger. But if I'm going to discuss 1140-60 size and 1240-60 size, you know, the caveat I must put into this one is that I probably weigh around 8 to 9 kilos less than I did when I had a no date. The 1140-60. I have lost weight. I've been training differently. My lifestyle's a bit changed. I got bored of whatever I was doing, and now I want to try to different type of training. So my body's completely changed. I feel that my arms are a bit different. My wrists probably a little bit thinner than they were before. A lot of people have chunkier wrists purely because they're just fat. That's just the reality of it. I mean, a lot of people have chunkier wrists because they're naturally big boned. Some are carrying excess weight. Obviously my wrists, I don't know, I just imagine that they might have gone down, shrunk a little bit, or maybe obviously the watch is a bit bigger. Combination of both, perhaps. So that's one thing. But another thing now in terms of the 1240-60, when I was looking to acquire it, I failed to find a video on a 1240-60 which ticked everything I wanted to listen about the 1240-60. Yes, there are some fantastic videos out there with fantastic, you know, great content, great descriptions, great B-roll, great production, great everything. But you know, there were 1 or 2 videos which did scratch my itch in terms of, you know, the thirst I had for knowledge on the 1240-60. You know, they did mark some of the points I wanted to hear about. And this is not me creating a video to, shall I say, fill the gap of this is the best 1240-60 video on YouTube. It's not. It's just what I wanted to hear when I was in the market for this watch. So I wanted someone to really draw a comparison with the 1140-60, and I wanted someone just to, I don't know, make me feel the 1240-60 a little bit, flash it a little bit. And don't just flash me your beautifully produced imagery, because in my opinion, a lot of photos on Instagram, a lot of photos on social media, on YouTube or wherever, videos, they can really make a piece of shit look good. They can make a watch look a lot better than it does, significantly. And I kind of wanted a bit more of a raw material picture or view of the watch. So this isn't me giving an excuse for my lazy production, which there is none. It's just, you know, I can look at beautifully engineered images of watches and etc., and lust over these watches, but so many of the times you go and actually see the watch which you've seen on Instagram, and you see it in a shop and you're like, yeah, it's different color, different everything, different feel. I mean, that picture was amazing. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit. So I went with the no date, guys, because for me it was a watch that I was missing. And if you remember a video I did maybe a few weeks ago when I bought my Panerai, the no date was the watch that I was really thinking of adding to my collection. And I went with the Panerai because I think I said in my video, the no date would have just been another no date, and great, I bought another Rolex Submariner. And I'm not going back on that. That watch was going to be one that I bought, but I bought this watch just out of its sheer beauty, versatility. And I just think that if I'm going to be a watch person, I do want to have a no date. And I've had different iterations of no dates, the pre-ceramics, the ceramics, but there was always something bothering me a little bit. With the pre-ceramics, I found them a little bit too dainty. And I do like the maxi dials. With the ceramic 1140-60, it was almost so great, but the shoulders really bothered me on the watch. The lugs, they annoyed me. And then the 1240-60 came out, and probably the most successful no date for me yet. And it's almost perfect. It's almost perfect. What do I think is not perfect about it? I think the way Submariners are going, this is not a watch for your average guy now with the average kind of build. I've seen some subs on people, or Submariners, I've seen some GMTs on people, which look massive on them. I mean, the Submariner is meant to be a watch that anyone can really wear, but a lot of them just dangle all the way down here, and they look quite big on a lot of people, and I think a lot of people disliked that. And I read on one of the forums somewhere that this really, in my opinion, the 1240-60 is really a watch for the 7-inch plus wrist as a minimum, and I'm probably inclined to agree with that. I don't think the 1240-60 is a sub 7-inch wrist watch, and some people have asked me, what's your opinion on 1140-60 and 1240-60 size-wise? Is it bigger? Is it larger? Does it wear bigger, etc.? It does. It's a heftier watch. It's a more substantial watch. It's a better looking watch from the lugs, but the lugs are what bothered me. The lugs I don't think bothered a lot of people, but some people it did bother. So there's a trade-off, and the trade-off is clasp game. This watch has a bigger clasp. It has a wider bracelet. It definitely feels heavier. Now, like I say that because I was heavier when I had my 1140-60, but it does feel heavier, this watch. It does feel heavier than my first 6-digit Submariners. It does feel heavier. Do I like it on me? Well, I wouldn't own it if I didn't like it on me. I think this watch is simple, it's timeless, it's elegant, it has, let's be honest, it has the right amount of water resistance. You don't really need, whatever the seat dweller is, 1220 meters, you don't really need that. You don't really need this, but it's got the right amount. It's got the great looks, it's got the beautiful lume, it's got the bracelet improvements, it's got more space in the dial. I think the markers look nicer now in the dial because there's just been that increment of a ½ mil or more, but something's just slotted into place where you, or me, I find it more aesthetically pleasing on the eye, this watch. I think it's a very good looking watch. Another thing I actually wrestled with myself on this one. I was thinking, Submariner date or no date? I've never been a Submariner date guy or a black Submariner date guy. I've had them, but that's the watch which really bothers me because that's the watch which everyone kind of gets. And that's the watch where I'm like, I can automatically categorize you as just a generic, you made a little bit of money watch person and you got a sub date. I guess historically speaking, the no date was always the lesser of the two options. It was always the B option. Submariner date was the A team and this was the B team. And people were like, oh, you just wanted to save money, you didn't want to date. And that was true back then, but I think over the years, people's tastes matured. Maybe people just started overthinking more, but it's just a prettier watch. And one of the first videos that I noticed that a sub no date is very pretty was when I did a comparison, or I was doing a review on my SD50. This was years ago now. It was such an amateur video. But I was doing a video of the SD50 and I picked the sub no date straight up after in the video, and you could just see how beautiful, clean and simple and symmetrical the Submariner no date was. And that was the first time really I noticed how the dial popped, because it didn't have a cyclops, it didn't have the extra complications or whatever else that the SD50 had. Granted, the SD50 is quite a busy watch compared to even a sub. It's got the markers all the way around the bezel as well, so it's got the 60-minute markers around the bezel, and it's got a cyclops, and it's got the red writing, and it's a little bit thicker set. So the SD50 is quite a busy-ish watch. It's just got a little splash of color compared to a Submariner no date. So yeah, guys, I mean, that's kind of, I wanted to go over that. I'm not gonna, I think we all know that this has an improved movement, 30 to 30. It's got a clasp change, a wider bracelet to accommodate the sort of hidden lugs. They've amended it a little bit, but it's a kind of a trick on the eye, but it kind of works, and it is a beautiful watch. I mean, I'm wearing just like a denim shirt today, and would I want to have a two-tone Bluesy on right now? No, I wouldn't. And I think that's why I didn't go for the Bluesy. The Bluesy is a gorgeous watch, but I just know I'd wear it here and there. It's not that I don't like the Bluesy, I just love the black no date sub. It's under the radar. It is what it is. It's a no date sub. It's in my opinion, one of the best watches ever made, and of course it's owned to death by people. It's talked about to death. But I think the 1240-60 does really deserve its time in the light. And I was a little bit skeptical when the first 41 MMs came out last year. I guess the traditionalist inside me was thinking, why did you do it? Why did you go from 40 to 41? And when you just like things the way they are, and you just think, well, you could have sorted it out without changing the dial size. Rolex could have sorted out the 1140-60 shoulders without playing with dial sizes and bracelet sizes. They really could have, but they didn't. Which leads me to another question: why keep upsizing? I mean, the one idea I have in my head is that maybe populations and customers, or the average customer for watches now, is larger than they were 30 years ago. People 20 to 30 years ago were daintier than they are now. Obesity is growing on an annual basis. It's been growing non-stop. So if obesity is going up, surely watch sizes need to go up, right? Because I just got thinking the other day, I thought, why do we keep going bigger? I mean, is it fashion? Where's this fashion coming from? In terms of upsized watches, larger watches. And I thought to myself, I've seen so many people who, let's just say, are a little bit heavier than they should be, wearing these bigger watches. And I think that's where it comes from. That might be why it's happening. Rolex, we could be all overthinking it. Rolex get this big chart out in their room going, listen guys, people are getting bigger. We need to make bigger watches. End of. It's not that we're following fashion, just need to make bigger watches. But listen, it's just my thinking. Anyway guys, the annoying thing is, I was going to record this video on my camera, but I don't know why my camera, but it just looks too blue. So I switched to the iPhone today, and my iPhone's kind of got all my little notes that I was going to go through for this video. And I think in my mind, I've covered most of them. But I think hopefully I've given you enough of of a breakdown on a 12-40-60 and why I've gone for it. At some point, hopefully, maybe I'll get a Bluesy in the future, but I really wanted to add the 12-40-60. And another thing, you know, you'll see it in the light all the time. Looking at this dial, just when I check the time, not the date, it's like I see it in 4K because they've put this anti-reflective coating now on top of the crystal, and it really is sharp and gorgeous. Just as nice as I hope it comes across in this video, but it's there's something really easy on the eye when you look at the time. That it just feels so different, and because it just feels super sharp. It's like we've gone from 1080p to 4K in terms of the legibility of it. So I think the move Rolex did with the anti-reflective coating there, it's worked really nicely, because if anything, it's really just made it complemented the shiny ceramic bezel. So listen guys, I'm not going to ramble on a little bit too much. I've just had my food, just my coffee, full of sugar, full of carbs, everything. So I'm going to cut it there. I look forward to seeing some of your comments in the comment section, and till the next video. Thanks very much. Take care.